Boy, do we have a jam-packed show today for you. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Steve Deace program, live and on demand here on BlazeTV, radio and podcast. I am Steve Deace. He's Todd Erzin, and he is Aaron McIntyre. I mentioned we have a jam-packed show for you. At the bottom of this hour, the weekly prophet of woe and lamentation, Daniel Horowitz, will be joining us. We'll analyze what has now been a consistent theme this entire primary season, including the results that we saw last night, even including right here in my home state of Iowa. Now, why is Daniel joining us an hour earlier than normal? Because enemy of the state, Peter Navarro, will be joining us at about 90 minutes from now. What's it like? Hey, when Joe Biden, now, Peter's not black, but he actually knows that that Joe Biden, what it looks like when he's going to put you all back in chains. He actually knows what that looks like, what it feels like to be shackled up by the Biden regime. We will talk to Peter Navarro, former senior advisor to the Trump presidency, I should say. That is coming up about 90 minutes from now. And you don't want to miss that conversation. You also don't want to miss buy, sell, or hold sandwiched in between those two interviews as well. So like I told you right here from the jump, we have a jam-packed show lined up for you today. And however, let's begin with some very good news, especially if your name is Todd Erzin. This part of the show brought to you by our friends over at Bonner Private Wines, some of the best foreign imported wines on the entire earth, from deep in the Andes Mountains at about 9,000 feet, not from corporate entities, but families that have been doing this now going on a second century, so they know what they're doing. And believe me, these wines taste like they know what they are doing as well. Todd has tasted them again and again and again.
Not enough to crush you in your daughter's poll, I think, but I'll keep trying.
Yes, that's an Instagram poll that my daughter is running right now. What is the most obsessed product on this program, Todd and Bonner Private Wines, or me and Built Bar, right? She's running that poll now. That was Todd's, by the way, in case you were wondering, because he didn't want to violate the dude code. That was purely a passive-aggressive attempt to get you to go to our Instagram page at Steve Deace Show and vote for Todd in that poll.
Correct.
Yeah, just thought I'd clarify that. Anyway, if you want to go and get some of these wines, half off the wine, half off the shipping. So you get double savings of these awesome red wines when you go to BonnerPrivateWines.com/Steve. That's BonnerPrivateWines.com/Steve. I mentioned you can follow us on Instagram at Steve Deace Show. You can also do the same thing on Facebook, MeWe, Parler, and Gab. You can look for Steve Deace there, at Steve Deace Show on Twitter and Getter and TikTok. Get clips of the show that are free to watch and also free of any censorship when you go to rumble.com/Steve Deace Show and check us out as well on Truth Social at Real Steve Deace. And the last name is DEACE, or you could just do this old school. Send us an email. Let us know what you think about what we think that way. Steve@stevedeace.com. With all of that now stipulated to, let's begin as we always do with Aaron's rundown of what happened while we were away.
What happened while we were away, brought to you by the laptop from hell. One of Hunter Biden's favorite prostitutes, a woman named Cheryl DeBovis, received over $20,000 from the federal government during the pandemic as part of the Paycheck Protection Program. She received the check for her quote-unquote female-owned sole proprietorship shortly after Joe Biden moved into the White House. The woman's name shows up many, many times on Hunter Biden's laptop from hell. Primary updates in California. Turnout models forecast between a 12 and 20% turnout statewide. One notable result from California, though, in San Francisco, now infamous District Attorney Chesa Boudin was ousted in a recall election yesterday. Boudin comes from a long line of Marxists. His father was a murderer and a member of the Weather Underground. Boudin gained infamy by eliminating cash bail, not prosecuting many crimes, and putting a lot fewer people behind bars. As the price of gas continues to rise nationwide with no end in sight, Michigan Democrat Senator Debbie Stabenow has some thoughts.
Get my electric vehicle. I got it and drove it from Michigan to here this last weekend and went by every single gas station, and didn't matter how high it was. And so I'm looking forward to the opportunity for us to move to vehicles that aren't going to be dependent on the whims of the oil companies.
Actor Matthew McConaughey showed up to D.C. yesterday to urge lawmakers to grab guns.
Eyes not so dry now, are they?
Whoops, wrong clip. Whoops, wrong clip. Whoops, wrong clip. Moving on, the FDA is set to hold a vote in the next few weeks to allow Pfizer and Moderna to reformulate their COVID mRNA vaccines into perpetuity without going through clinical trials because reasons. I can only assume this means a day is coming very soon when we'll be able to have cookies and cream and pumpkin spice COVID jabs. How nice. A group of 90 women, including Olympian Simone Biles, Ali Raisman, and Michaela Maroney, are suing the FBI for over $1 billion for protecting and or doing nothing to prosecute former Team USA doctor Larry Nassar. This comes about a week and a half after the Department of Justice announced again they're not pressing federal charges against the former FBI agents responsible. Demonic possession update. Here's a dude pretending to be a female prostitute.
And like for me, when I was growing up, colonialism looked a lot like, my first introduction to colonialism looked a lot like me waking up at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, every morning to sounds of my ancestors screaming from outside my window, coming from the ground, coming from the earth and nature outside, like waking me up to tell me that like, hey, there is work to be done. There are things that haven't been overturned. There are things that haven't been addressed. And you are the one that's capable of doing it. And
pro-baby killing activists showed up to Joel Osteen's church in Texas recently and started stripping, trying to make some sort of point. We'll get back to you when we figure out what they were trying to accomplish. Here's a How's It Started, How's It Going mashup of Ed Stetzer. Stetzer, if you don't know who he is a church leadership guru, author, and professor at Wheaton College in Illinois. He's basically a professional nice guy. What you're about to see is a mashup of clips from Stetzer in late 2020 versus an interview recently, both on the topic of closing churches during the pandemic.
I've had a question come in asking about what your view is of the churches that haven't adhered to kind of restrictions during the period and have carried on regardless, sort of no masks, no social distancing. What would your view be on those without naming any names, Ed?
Oh, I don't mind naming names, but I don't agree. The big question is, people ask me, should we go John MacArthur? And so let's name names, since that's what we're thinking in terms of.
I mean, almost every church is down somewhere between 40 and 60%. Still 2 years into this pandemic.
As far as like them gathering without mitigations and restrictions, I think that gives a message to the community that's unhelpful. And when we see people in the community say, you're putting the rest of us in danger. We lost something significant when churches didn't meet in person. I think a better way in hindsight would have been to say that we're going to have to operate in a temporarily deficient way in the emergency for the sake of the mission, but gathering is so central. Now we're having to re-persuade people that gathering is central. So I think ultimately it can harm our witness. It can energize Christians and harm our witness at the same time. I think you need to ask the question about your witness in your community, and I think that has been hindered in many churches that have thrown off all caution, not followed mitigation, and more.
That mashup is courtesy of Woke Preacher Clips on Twitter, and that's what happened while we were away.
Wow, I wish I could say I was surprised, but I am not. We'll get to more of that here in just a moment. First, let me tell you, though, that Aaron's montage brought to you by Patriot Mobile. You don't have a lot of options these days to not give your money to someone in an industry that hates you, unfortunately. That's why when such an option presents itself, please make sure to take full advantage of it. And the good news is, one place where such an option exists is one option we kind of all need to exercise these days, and that is the use of a mobile phone. And that's where you can go to our friends at Patriot Mobile, get virtually the exact same coverage you're already getting, because everybody uses virtually the exact same towers. But maybe even you'll save some money in the process, or you'll certainly save some of your own conscience in knowing you're no longer directly funding people who hate you, but America's only Christian conservative mobile phone company. They actually take your profits and donate to the causes that you like. And if you're a veteran and first responder, they offer you even bigger savings as a way of saying thank you for your service. For the rest of us right now, you can get a free activation with the offer code Steve. That's a free activation with the offer code Steve if you make the switch at patriotmobile.com/Steve. And yes, last fall, my family, we finally made the switch, and they made it seamless for us. Make the switch, patriotmobile.com/Steve, or you can call them at 972-PATRIOT. So let us, shall we, get to what is in what's in the montage. I thought the way you handled the Matthew McConaughey coming to speak on gun control yesterday, I just thought was brilliant, Aaron. Perfect. And I say this as someone who's a fan. I mean, I like him on a personal level. It's kind of hard not to, frankly. But if the last 26 months have not convinced you to not peaceably disarm no matter what, ongoing, by the way, 26 months and going, then, I mean, I saw George Takei tweeted out yesterday, you know, Ukraine could certainly use all those AR-15s. That's why we have the Second Amendment. Never mind. Anyway, what do you even say to that? It's so dumb. It's so dumb. But under no conditions, no matter how likable the pitchman is, no matter how reasonable the pitch may seem, under no conditions, especially after the last 26 months, don't disarm, don't peaceably disarm on any level whatsoever. Don't grant this government any more ability to thwart your ability to resist it whatsoever. Don't. Now I want to get to the church, because there are two stories here towards the tail end of Aaron's montage that I find just fascinating. Let's start with what happened at Joel Osteen's church. Or it's not really a church. Rally. I mean, what do you call a place where large gatherings of people occur, but
to be fair, how many
actual
churches,
religious message is not preached? I mean, what do you call those events and places?
To be fair, how many churches really are a church these days?
Well, fair. Is it a trans church? Is that what Lakewood is? Trans church?
It identifies as a church.
It identifies as a church, yes.
Nice.
Church adjacent.
Yes, it's church adjacent. I love that. Thank you, Jill Savage. I love that, yes. You could look at what went on there one of two ways. You could have the initial reaction, which I had, frankly, that this is one of the most glaring own goals I have ever seen in the culture war. I don't know what the demonic equivalent to don't cast pearls before swine is. Right? I don't know what the demonic equivalent to that is, you know? I mean, don't blow your wad for nothing. I mean, I don't know what the demonic equivalent is to that. All right? But if there was ever a place that it was totally and completely unnecessary for you to go in and to make your strident, demonic culture war point, it was at Lakewood Church adjacent to where Joel Osteen presides. They're not only no threat to you, they are you. That is those are your people. They are at the very least your enablers. At the very least, they're your enablers. I mean, it was a decade ago that Osteen showed up when Houston elected its first lesbian mayor. Osteen showed up to bless the mayor. When a bunch of pastors got together to then sue that mayor a couple of years later, when she tried to say, when a bunch of churches in Houston got together and said, no, we're not going to have guys in the public women's bathrooms here, and we're going to defeat that by popular referendum, she actually attempted to subpoena. She tried to subpoena their messages and correspondence as pastors. And she got absolutely slapped down and spanked by a court. Guess what church she did not subpoena? The biggest of them all. Joel Osteen's church adjacent over there at Lakewood. Because game recognized game. She knew. I mean, this is completely unnecessary. And on the surface, I would like to think this is just, you guys are just out of your gourds. You're completely unstable. And you're just looking for anything that has the word church in it and reflexively reacting, right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of my first reaction. But then, the part of my brain that created Lord Nefarious tapped on the back of my head a little bit and said, hey, meatbag, I don't think you're seeing this one right. We don't play 4D chess down here. We play 6D, you know what I'm saying? We're 6 steps ahead of you guys all of the time. We didn't send our assets into Lakewood unnecessarily. We didn't send them in there because they didn't go in there on their own because they're just so out of their stinking minds that they haven't even thought it through who they're attempting to protesting. Because the people running that ministry would absolutely side with those women taking their clothes off over me, you, and most of you listening to this show one-on-one in a referendum, I promise you. They think we're the ones provoking them to get that crazy. Where if we all just lived our best life now and found our wonder words, we could get along. No, the part of my brain that created Nefarious thought, yeah, that's not what's happening here. We accomplished 2 goals. That hell went in there and scared the living daylights out of anybody in that church that might have accidentally been saved. Might accidentally have stumbled upon having the Holy Spirit, not a Vendoland machine, but the actual Holy Spirit at work in their lives and might be a little bit concerned about what they're seeing going on around them. But then shows up for that slammin' praise team and the Up With People message every Sunday. Just in case there was any remnant in there at all that was thinking of getting a little frisky. You scared the hell out of them because that is the kind of church that teaches non-confrontationalism is a fruit of the Spirit. That is the first and greatest commandment. When they read the Bible and the guy comes to Jesus and says, "What's the greatest commandment?" And they literally say, "Thou shalt not be confrontational." You know this. Don't be confrontational. Don't confront anything. On top of that, we got a bunch of conservative media to write a story or tweet out about what a terrible thing that was done at Joel Osteen's church. We used your platforms to brand our guy as one of your churches. No, this wasn't just rage spillover by some crazed people given over to the Romans' mind-level depraved minds. This was 6th-level chess. We outflanked you all on multiple levels by using their Romans 1 given over depraved minds to our advantage. What do you guys think?
2 things. First, I hate you. Second, and this is ancillary, but I do love it. You know these people, for all the reasons Steve said, you know these people storm in here and they've got all manner of pronouns in their bios, but then they turn around and strip down to make sure you see the direct physical evidence that they are, in fact, women. That contradiction
That's great.
is just amazing to see.
Yes.
Boobs. I'm a woman. Everybody's like, yeah, we got that. That's clear. But then instantly you're going to be asked to say like I'm shim or whatever it is. It's fascinating. Yeah, same.
All right. That was painful enough. Let's move on. I got to say, is it Stetzer or Stelzer?
Stetzer.
All right. Stetzer, Stelter, tomato. These guys all look alike. That was one hell of a Mike Pence impersonation. The second clip, I mean, how forlorn and serious he looked, you know, and I'm just... Siri, what is gaslighting? It's the clip, Aaron, that you just showed there. And those are the boys who can shave, the males who can procreate, that make up the vast majority of American pulpits, is that clip right there. The best you can say about the clip, Aaron, the best thing you could say is that this guy is so concerned about his appearance before a dying culture that he gives it way too much benefit of the doubt and then lives to regret it later on. Because the first clip where he's castigating John MacArthur, what was the date of that clip?
December 2020.
December of 2020, guys. December. It wasn't April or May. It was in December. In December. December. Did we have any data that showed lockdowns, masks, all these things don't work? Did any of that stuff exist by December?
Few.
I mean, I understand it's difficult to come up for air and do any research when you're filleting one of the people that created the virus and unleashed it upon us as a Christian brother. It's hard. Hard to speak up when your mouth is full. I understand. But the best you could say is he is so soft-headed, so overly concerned about what the demonic influence of the culture thinks about him, and not appearing to be one of those people. Of course, I'm not like those people. You know, like you and you and you and all of you watching and listening right now. He's not like you. He's better. He's nicer. And he just got so concerned about the credibility of his witness, which that's not his concern. The concern is his witness is, am I nice? Am I relevant? I mean, look how well kept this beard is. My lockdown beard. I even dyed it for you. The best you can say is he is so given over to his own self-induced spirit of timidity. Please like me. That on the back end, he recognized what a terrible amount of damage has been done to the church through these shutdowns and now regrets it. In other words, the best case scenario is this guy shouldn't be leading any ministries absolutely anywhere. That he's well-meaning, just completely unqualified for his job and the task at hand and the times in which we face down to the molecular level. That's the best case scenario. Anybody want to discuss the worst one? Come on. Yeah, frankly, neither do I. But we know what it is, don't we? In some respects, I wish it was the worst one. I'd have more respect. I'm pretty confident, though, it's not the worst case scenario. And that's what's so damned pathetic. I'd respect it. I wouldn't honor it. I wouldn't approve of it. I wouldn't agree with it. But as a co-combatant, I'd respect that. I'd respect that level of spite. I'd respect that level of gravitas for my enemy.
You'd have to defeat it.
Absolutely. You would not be able to if you did not. Right. Oh, I wish that were it, actually. It's not, I promise you. He's just that damn soft. He's just that damned focused in on, we're not like those Christians you don't like.
When they read the meek shall inherit the earth, they see it as the weak shall inherit the earth. Yeah. And therefore...
the nicer than God shall inherit the earth. Yes. Yep, they just take entire passages of the Bible and they basically just behave as if God himself has evolved and moved beyond that now. When in reality, I would think the times in which we live right now, where we're taking kids to a bar in the middle of the day in friggin' Texas and having them sexually assaulted by pervert creepers, might have you reconsidering, I used to really struggle with the idea that God sent those Israelites into Canaan and told them to just wipe those pagan people off the face of the earth. I thought that was a little extreme. I thought that was a little overboard. And now I'm like, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. I mean, I would kind of think that might be the natural reaction to the times in which we live. Not to nicer, harder. But this is their idol. We tend to see Pharisees as the people with the furrowed brow. They can be. They can also be the ones with the forlorn look of tisk as well. Don't you know that if it's not nice and if it's not packaged a certain way, and without our little brand of cleverness and winsomeness, the God of the universe would be hopeless, and he could not reach this community if it just didn't filter through our methodology and process. That tumor, cancerous tumor, has infected very much of American evangelicalism, especially since the emergence of people like Warren and Osteen. That somehow the church would fail if we didn't do it your way. You're a pastor, not a door-to-door salesman. You're a minister, not a brand manager. And these are to be elders, not a board of directors. It's not a business. It's a church. Or at least it used to be. Gentlemen, your thoughts.
Let's talk about, for a moment, shall we? Let's talk about harming one's witness. Is there no scenario where a Christian or a group of believers could harm their witness? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's ample opportunities for that. Here's what guys like Stetzer mean by that, though. Okay, anything contrary to the prevailing cultural winds is harming my witness. You know what's really offensive? Being told you're dead in your sin and you're going to hell without believing in the gospel and surrendering your life to Christ. That's really offensive. The truth is really offensive to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. There are things that we can harm our witness as Christians by doing. There absolutely are. Gathering together, continuing to gather together, even if we have to modify it a little bit, that's not hurting your witness. That is your witness.
Preach.
That is your witness.
Preach.
That we do not fear the way that you heathens do, the way that the broader culture does. You were the one who destroyed your witness there, Ed. But then again, don't want to offend anybody's delicate sensibilities. He is legion. I know this growing up in the church, going to a Christian university, working for a Christian ministry before I worked for you, Steve. These people are legion. Don't be like that.
What he said. Back in a moment. Are you ready for the next time? That can never happen here. Happens here. Make sure you are with our friends at My Patriot Supply. Get their 3-month emergency food kit now. That's 3 square meals a day plus snacks and drinks. That's 2,000 plus calories for you and everybody in your household, and you'll have that peace of mind for up to 25 years with proper storage. If you take advantage of their special offer right now, free shipping and $150 in savings when you go to preparewithdace.com. That's DEACE, preparewithdace.com, just in case it's as bad as we think it is. Make sure you're prepared at Prepare with Dace, DEACE, 3 months of food with $150 off and free shipping at preparewithdace.com. Let's bring in the prophet of woe and lamentation, who's an hour early this week. We appreciate him being flexible with the schedule. Good to see you, my friend. And Daniel Horowitz is here with us. And I was reading something that you were writing this morning on Twitter, looking at last night's primary results, including right here in my home state of Iowa, where I think it was at least 4 Republican incumbents lost to more conservative primary challengers, including the state House chairman on education. He lost a primary over the school choice issue. And you've noted that there have actually been a lot of very promising results along these lines in state house races all over the country this primary cycle. But when we get to the more expensive statewide races, governor, senator, we're not doing well in those primaries. And to me, I think the good news where that is concerned is that's the farm team that those state legislatures are where the next round of our senators, congressmen, and governors are going to come from in the next 10 years, right? But the bad news is, how much of America is going to be left by the time their time emerges? And this is kind of my dilemma, is that for the first time in my career, Daniel, I feel as if we're actually getting on the path of the kind of activism, skepticism, and confrontationalism necessary for what is infecting this culture. But I fear that we started on this path about 10 years too late. Where are you at?
No, Steve, that is the path we've always been on. It's an illusion. You answered your own question. That we've been here before. It's always a day late, a dollar short. When we need a 5, we're at a 3. When we need a 10, we're at a 7. So, yeah, in a vacuum, some of our people, or more of our people, are, so to speak, red-pilled than ever on certain things. But the devastating consequences of the implementation of the communist agenda is so real. We're not in the 90s where, Ross Perot warned that, hey, if you keep this up, we're going to be like Greece. We're going to have funny money. We're in that, whether it's fiscal, cultural, whatever it is, demographic, security, tyranny. We're at that point. We're suffering it. So, yeah, people will rhetorically get a little bit more aggressive. And I do think locally we are making strides on school boards and state legislatures. But unless we work at this during the off season, okay, not just during the election every 2 years in November, but every day in between, and pressure them on the issues and make them fear us, we're not going anywhere. Because again, it's worthless. I mean, at this point, I have an article out today on the need for states to revisit the Commerce Clause and just do what it takes to save people from the economic controlled demolition of our federal government. They have violated the social compact. So you can no longer use the same traditional means. So yeah, I mean, we're kind of getting there, but not a single governor has lost a seat, not a single lockdown governor, not a single senator, not a single congressman so far, although there might be 1 or 2, but only because of scandals in the end. But this is where it's at. And basically, I think you had it right that, you kind of gave up on primaries years ago and said you're going to focus on red pilling our people, because clearly we haven't created the market for it. The common denominator is when there's a stark battle line drawn, like you voted for Trump's impeachment, you voted for that commission. There's no doubt Liz Cheney will be soundly defeated because it was inundated. The voters were inundated with it. They understand it. They understand the players, and they understand the issue. And I think in Iowa, in a microcosm, you had the governor jump on board the school choice issue. That was understood. It was a specific thing. It was a lower ticket race, so the challengers didn't need as much money. You were able to succeed, and we're finding that throughout the country. But if it's just generically that we're getting killed on every issue and the Republicans are just balloons in the wind, our voters are turning out with a general election mindset with record turnout in the primaries, and they're just voting for the first name they know because the battle line is drawn against Biden. It's drawn against the Democrats. It's drawn in a general sense. The understanding that these Republicans are quietly in on it, and they're not going to affirmatively take any of those actions that are necessary to neutralize it and get on a better path, that is lost on those voters. It's our challenge to create that battle line so then in the future there's a market for changing leadership.
Yesterday on the show, I read a letter I was sent by one of the January 6thers, okay, who accepted a plea deal, will still get, because they threatened him with 20 years in prison. He never broke anything, stole anything, went into the Capitol, but he's guilty of vociferously supporting Donald Trump and thinking the election was stolen, basically. But he's also lost a six-figure business, works minimum wage. He's at least going away for a while. Not sure what's going to happen with his family, things of that nature. And we were talking about the letter here on the show after I read it. And I said something that kind of dawned on me at the time. That I can't think of a singular issue or controversy or situation that better encapsulates the no man's land that we are in than what's happened to the nonviolent January 6thers. Because on one side, you have a Democrat Party completely given over to a spirit of the age, where it's a demonic cult, and the part of it that isn't is just so zealously Marxist it might as well be, okay? And so they will just do whatever they want. Yesterday was 5 months until the election. They have all the poll numbers. They know they're getting annihilated. We don't see them try to moderate on anything. They don't care, okay? And then so we have a duopoly, and so then you turn to Republicans. And one of the things that this gentleman said in his note to me is, these guys, they don't care about people like us. They don't talk about people like us. They don't address people like us. Julie Kelly from American Greatness, who has done more work covering this story than I think anybody in the country, has pointed out on more than one occasion that nobody in Trump's orbit or Trump himself, none of his organizations have come forward to offer these people better legal counsel or anything of that nature. A lot of them are just getting public defenders. And to me, doesn't this just encapsulate where we truly are on our side, which is the other side is literally a demonic horde. I mean, they're just showing up now with, armed at Brett Kavanaugh's house like an hour ago. Okay. And then the people that we are going to rush to vote for to save us when we really need them are just nowhere to be found and cannot be counted upon. And yet we feel as if we don't keep voting for these people, we'll just get more of the demonic horde. And this cycle of drain circling just continues over and over again.
And it will continue. And I think this perfectly encapsulates where we are and also the primary results. The problem is no one views Chuck Grassley at, 117 years old as the guy with the, being a drag queen, doing the persecutions at DOJ and poisoning people. But nonetheless, he is in bed with pharma. He is in bed with what he himself used to call the leniency industrial complex, to let out violent criminals, but then, say nothing with regard to January 6th. And he's certainly not going to do anything to stand athwart the cultural Marxism and say stop. But the problem is he doesn't reek of it. So the voters know the Democrats are doing it, and they take the no name, and that's just in your state, but this is happening in every state. But we are at a point where doing nothing is not an option. They have the noose around our neck, and they got the slip knot in there, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't affirmatively take new actions and strategies and very strong actions, different than things we've ever pursued, you're dead. You'll wind up in the same place as having the Democrats directly do it, or default Republicans ensuring that no one else arises to actively combat it. That's the problem we're at. And they'll broadly say they hate inflation, the stuff, they don't like Biden's doing this, the illegals at the border. But on the things that matter, if you watch carefully, they will not touch it with a 10-foot pole, because morality, what is just, facts don't matter. So January 6th is tainted. They're not touching it. Doesn't matter. The clot shots. Every day we come out with, there's so much more information.
Hold on one second. Let's go back to the January 6th thing. If they trotted those people out and shot them on site right out there on the mall in Washington.
You shouldn't have stormed the Capitol.
You still think Republicans would be silent?
Yes, you shouldn't have stormed the Capitol. They will not touch it. The same way I was told, and I know this from some of the better Republican senators, there is no amount of information that could come out about the number of people killed and disabled from the bioweapons greater number than anything we dreamt of Al-Qaeda ever doing in a bioterror attack after 9/11. There is no information that will prompt Republicans to oppose the shots, even on children. Next week, they're doing it on babies and toddlers. And the Florida Surgeon General is the only one that's speaking out against it. There's nobody else. I guess Senator Ron Johnson has nobody else, including some of the better ones. They oppose mandates, they say, but it's like saying, we're going to have a Planned Parenthood mandate everywhere, set up everywhere, but just don't mandate it. That's kind of what they're doing. They will not touch it. And Steve, if they're not willing to do that in the minority when they're more feisty, they're not doing that in the majority.
So then maybe the political hope here is this post-COVID coalition of truth tellers from various persuasions that have kind of emerged, probably best signified by Naomi Wolf and Steve Bannon working together. Yes. Maybe that's where the future hope is here then.
The only hope in my mind, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, aside from obviously working the issues at the county, state legislative level, not just the elections, but the issues, I think working back against the culture, canceling the cancelers. This is all important, the anti-grooming movement. Electorally, I'm not saying don't vote for the idiot Republicans. Do what you want. It doesn't even matter. But at the very minimum, we should at least try to take somewhat of a risk in some states where we can to try to go independent with a new sort of coalition that could draw from all sorts of areas, so you're not limited to Republicans, and at least have a chance of winning in a three-way race that speaks to the issues of our time. Because I will tell you, we almost do not have a single statewide candidate anywhere running on the issues that matter in the way they matter at the time they matter.
I'm going to say this, man. Proud two-time Obama voter Robert Malone, reading his Substack, he's about 5 minutes from being to the right of Ted Cruz on virtually everything at this point. So I'll say that.
Exactly. That's what we need. Robert Malone, someone with that profile to run in a general election and loudly draw attention to the victims of the clot shot.
So a different kind of Ross Perot, basically, is what you're talking about.
That's what we needed. Yeah. The country was ready for it in 92. The polling shows
he just wasn't. Remember, he dropped out when he got ahead, then claimed it as the whole crazy thing with his daughter's wedding, and then got back in the race after he realized I had no chance to win.
The work of Satan. We would have been a different country if not for that.
He didn't want to be president. He self-sabotaged that back then. Good stuff, Daniel. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Take care. God bless.
Daniel, brought to you by our friends over at, here we are, Built Bar. Don't have to choose any longer between good eating and good health, because they make the absolute best tasting protein bar ever made over at Built Bar. Every single flavor covered in real chocolate. Again today, because I believe in that we should all finish our race. So I again put the brownie batter Built Bar puff to the test after my workout. And again, I am here to report that its Joe DiMaggio-like streak is alive and well. It is still absolutely fantastic, but really all of their flavors are. We're just debating the fantasticness, if that's a word. So if you want to try it today, they've got granola bars. They've got the puffs that are the marshmallow-covered ones, the good old-fashioned Built Bars themselves, the Built Boosts. You won't go wrong with any of it. You won't believe how few calories and carbs and grams of sugar are in each one, especially given how good they taste. Get 10% off right now with the promo code DEACE, D-E-A-C-E, when you go to Built.com. 10% off today for Built Bar at Built.com. Any thoughts on the conversation between Daniel and I?
He's right. He wise as serpents, innocent as doves. Always has a, which way do you err on to be safe kind of thing. He's definitely on wise as serpents territory, and rightly so. It is just, using the tool of elections to do what you can, yes. Totally changing our connection, our emotional and psychological connection to it. That's got to happen, and it's clear that we've got a long way to go on that.
On the conversation about not touching, Republicans not even willing to touch the J6 political prisoners at the Gulag there in Washington. What was the op-ed that you wrote last year that you just reposted this weekend? You want to know how you get John Browns?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
this.
every time we talk about the Republican Party, that comes to mind. You want to know how we get John Browns? That's what we're talking about here, because we are represented by people who, most of whom, 95% of whom, either just disagree with us or outright dislike us, have contempt for us. Those are the people who are representing us, or supposed to be. We're not even talking about the spirits of the Ages Party that just wants to destroy us and enslave us. That's how you get John Browns. Unless our culture's just that nihilistic that nobody cares anymore. But still, there's something down in each of us that's like, no, you push it too far, and get no pushback to the people who are pushing you. That's how this thing goes down.
And that is my concern, is that eventually we reach that point of no return. And we are back with Hour 2, live and on demand here on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. Let us know what you think about what we think by emailing the show, steve@stevedeace.com. That's DEACE. You can like us on Facebook, MeWe, Parler, and Gab. Follow me at Steve Deace Show on Getter, Twitter, over on TikTok and Instagram now too. You can also get clips of the show free of any censorship when you go to rumble.com/Steve Deace Show. And we are now up on Trump's Truth Social as well, at Real Steve Deace is where you find us there. And the last name is DEACE. For those of you that are podcast listeners, you are a big part of the show. Thank you very much. Please, if you've yet to do so, leave us a 5-star review. And if you do, and you put your question in your review, if you've got an Ask Me Anything question and you put it in your 5-star review, then we will put you to the front of the line at the very next Ask Me Anything that we do on Monday. So
Did
please,
you come up with that idea?
I heard it from a couple of sports podcasts.
Great idea.
That I listened to that have done it in the past.
Yeah.
And then I was just sitting here yesterday thinking we should have been doing this like for the last year. So, but just give us a 5-star review if you like us on the podcast. And then when you do, if you put your question in there, we will make sure it goes to the front of the line at the next Ask Me Anything. Thanks to all of you that have already left us a 5-star review. You might be thinking, well, I want my question brought to the front of the line. Leave us another one. Can you do that, by the way? Can you leave more than one?
I've left multiple reviews on our podcast.
There you have it.
There you go. All right. Also, hit the subscribe and follow button for us too, please. We would appreciate that. Let's get to Buy, Sell, or Hold, brought to you by Wreaking. Wireless earbuds are an absolute must these days, but you want to make sure you've got some of the noise-canceling variety, and Wreakings are the best noise-canceling ones, at least that are, not going to cost you a firstborn that I've ever tried. That's why they're one of the most popular brands out there. That's why they constantly get pilfered by my kids whenever they show up at the door with another pair. All right. So if you want to try those Wreakings today, they come in so many great colors. And they've got 49,000 5-star reviews. Is that a lot? That is a lot. Over 49,000 5-star reviews for Wreakings everyday earbuds, priced just right, with a 32-hour battery life as well. So that's quite a deal. And you can get 15% off right now if you go to buyraycon, RAYCON, buyraycon.com/Steve. Get 15% off when you make that order today at buyraycon.com/Steve. So here's how Buy, Sell, or Hold works. Aaron gets suggestions from you in the audience. No topic is off limits. Todd, you and I will decide, are we going to buy that? Are we going to sell that? Right? And once per episode, you are permitted to hold. Okay? You are permitted to hold. However, if you use that hold for any reason whatsoever, other than, wow, I cannot believe Aaron allowed that on the air, it's so bad, then you have to be the third wheel fluffer on set for Lindsey Graham and Sean Hannity. So when Sean, during commercial breaks, has to take a toke off a cancer stick, you make out with Lindsey Graham instead while Sean is busy being one toke over the line.
Of course, no, but by your standards, that one was pretty tame.
Was that tame, really?
But there's usually a lot more than making out and involved in there's a sign right over your left shoulder.
You've got to do it 9.5 week style with an ice cube in your mouth.
Serious suggestion here.
I could keep going if you want. Don't ever do that with me. Don't ever say I expected worse. I will make it worse. Okay? I will make it worse.
Let me double down on what I said earlier on the show. I hate you.
Motion. We need to rename this segment to Buy, Sell, or Lindsay.
I like it. I like it. I'm in favor of it, and you have to hold Lindsay. You've got to hold him. Yes.
Let us begin.
We
will begin with Science is Violence, who says the current dominance of premillennial eschatology suddenly allows Christian churchgoers an excuse for their passivity.
I'll buy. I don't think it's as prevalent as it used to be. I think that if anything, it actually causes us to think that and I've used this expression before, to drive the car with the gas and the brake at the same time, to get all fired up to confront what's going on with the spirit of the age, and then turn around and say, but we know in this Laodicean age of the church, things will only get worse. I think it probably causes us to deploy tactics that are self-refuting a lot, because we don't necessarily know what the end game of a win looks like. But in the past, I think that this was true, so I'll buy.
In order to answer, is there a type to a ardent premillennial? I mean, I'm trying to get the psychology. Is there a type?
Sure, absolutely.
Because that to me is how I would answer. I need to know that to answer this question. Are they holier than thou? So thus,
no.
I would say those who hold the premillennial view, all that I've seen in terms of temperament, is that kind of your question? They're very strident, very, very strident.
I think they tend to be more skeptical, conspiratorial, which frankly these days I'm
but those are all qualities that would make me think that would make you run into the burning building instead of just watching it burn. You would think. This is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I should say they are strident about this view.
Yes. Let me say this as someone who has spent a good amount of time, more than most people on the right, in trying to organize evangelicals politically over the last decade plus, or not anymore, but that's what I did for about a decade. Okay.
By the way, you made it worse for me on Lindsey Graham. I'm making it worse for you in return on eschatology.
I appreciate that.
So there you go.
I appreciate that. The three basic views. I do think the idea that I'm going to be motivated to engage in a culture war that I ultimately don't believe I can win, or am destined to win, I do think that can absolutely hinder your prospects and your enthusiasm and your and the kind of tactics that you would deploy. I've seen that. I've seen people that have more of an amillennial view, which is very, familiar with the church you come from Augustine, that when we're in the political arena, when in Rome, we can do as the Romans. We can make compromises. We're in the city of man now, so I can basically kind of abandon my faith now and do what I have to do. I can just kind of eyeball this thing. And I'm, a free agent when I step into the political arena. I mean, I've had ministers get elected and say stuff like that to me. Okay. And then the post-millennial view, I frankly have often found it to be the most confusing and confounding in political organization of them all, because they do believe that the church is triumphant in history, but like no one's ever good enough to vote for. Like no one is. Like, okay. Like I see, and so here's what I find counterintuitive about all three of those views, is I actually think it would be more consistent if you are a strident premillennialist to actually not get involved heavily in culture war stuff and focus and fixate far more on overall evangelism and ministry, right? Because that has eternal significance when you don't believe you're destined to win a culture war anyway. On the amillennial side, I would think if you truly believe that the city of man and the city of God are going to wrestle together until Christ returns, till kingdom comes, I would think you'd actually be hyper principled. You see what I'm saying? I mean, I've absolutely got to be Daniel in the lion's den, as opposed to, maybe the lions like the same food I do, and we can buddy up. And if you're a post-mill, I think you'd actually be more inclined to be tempted to make compromises because you believe that you are destined to win in history. And so you would kind of cut corners to that end that you already result that you already accept, as opposed to I'm going to put a Rushdoony or Calvin avatar on my Facebook account harder. I'll do it harder than I did it last week. And no one's still ever good enough, even though let me read another Rushdoony book about how I'm destined to win the culture war. So I think I have now officially offended every single tribe within American evangelicalism. So our work is done here.
Excellent. Yes. Moving on.
And that's only the first question.
Yep. Uncontexted Steve says, top 5 potential sequels to Matt Walsh's What is a Woman? Number 5, What is a Woman 2? The Gender Dysphoria of Khan.
I love that.
Steve doesn't need anything else.
I don't. I love that. That's great.
Number 4, Mad Matt, Furry Road.
Oh, that's good too. That's very good.
Number 3, How to Train Your Drag Queen.
Oh my gosh, that might even be the best one yet. These are excellent.
Number 2, Matt Walsh and the Temple of Gru.
Okay, yeah. Dude, we're not worthy territory now.
I'm not sure about this one. Number 1, the Chicken Crying Game.
Well, it's when he asks the woman, do chicken, or she asks him, do chickens cry?
Okay,
yes.
Okay.
Dude, who was that again?
Uncontexted Steve.
Should have put your full name on that to give yourself the much deserved credit, brother, that you deserve.
And send
for
that to Steve. Matt was not included in there, was he? Make sure you link that to Matt. He'd like it.
Yeah, that's masterpiece theater right there. That's great.
Next, Pat's Factory. Blair White is more opposed to the sinister agenda of the Rainbow Mafia than over 50% of elected Republicans.
I'm not comfortable answering the question on any level whatsoever. Blair White is symbolic of the problem. And I don't need Blair White or Wheaties Box's psychosis. I don't need to acknowledge it in order to defeat the psychosis. I mean, I understand what you're trying to say, but that's why I'm going to sell too. It's because I'm not going to grant the premise that there's anything worthy to use out of Blair White's psychosis. And frankly, I think it is diminishing him as a person, that I will just use you now for my political mascot. I'll use you now for your psychosis for my political ends, as opposed to helping and praying for you to confront and deal with your psychosis. That you're not, that he's not anything more than his psychosis. And can I use it to my political benefit? You know, the way that they use these psychoses to theirs. As a Christian, I'm just not comfortable with affirming that on any level whatsoever.
Same. Don't make that. This has a very strong stench of do not do evil so that good may come of it.
Good reference. And by the way, we understand what you're trying to say.
Yes.
So we're not don't take this as, not that we're above condemning people. We're just not trying to do it in this case. Mm-hmm. Okay. We'll tell you when we are. But in this, so we aren't meant to. We're just saying that's why we're not comfortable with the proposition, even though on a very fundamental level, we get your proposition and probably even would agree with it if we just did that math. But we think there's more math to do here. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well said. AOC's future boyfriend says top 10 foods that should be on a pizza topping, that should be a pizza topping, but aren't. Get ready for this list.
Okay.
10, turkey.
No, and no, And no.
Like I am.
Oh, of course, Todd's gonna buy
say,
this.
If,
Oh, my
this is
goodness.
for no. Hold on, this is for you.
Is it vinegar marinated?
No.
Yeah.
A smoked turkey, Aaron?
Not on pizza, man.
No.
I'm just saying.
Smoked turkey is good.
I can see it.
Not
Smoked
on-
turkey, I
not
could
on-
see it.
not on
No.
pizza.
No.
Number 9, corn.
No. No. No.
Corn is sweet. I could live with it,
No.
depending on the mix that it was with.
No.
Number 8. This one I would be okay with, but not like on a traditional pizza. Crab or lobster. Like one of those like cold pizzas. with
I
the
could
cream
do, if we were
cheese
doing
and
like
stuff.
some kind of a seafood, pasta primavera version of a pizza, I could go for something like that. I could do it.
But
Yeah.
my wife and 2 of my daughters eat shrimp pizza all of the time.
Yeah, I could do that too. Yeah.
You guys ever had shrimp burgers?
No, are they
No.
good?
They are
Are they?
excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trader Joe's. Number 7, beans.
Like black beans, I think we're talking.
Yeah, on a taco pizza, sure.
Yeah,
Sure, I
tacos,
could go for that.
is, yeah.
And you know what? On second thought, I might because of that, I might go back and amend my previous answer on corn.
Oh, okay.
Ah,
All right.
you're
'Cause
so sure.
I should be intellectually
No.
consistent there.
Yes,
Okay.
there we
All
go.
right. Turkey, though, is still a hard no. Yeah.
Number 6, zucchini.
No.
No.
What's wrong with you?
Although
love-
a zucchini
might
zucchini
be,
crust.
You might be AOC's future boyfriend.
Yeah, you might be. That's true. That I could see like a zucchini crust because zucchini makes for great bread. So I could see like a zucchini crust if you wanted to go, and that probably would taste better than the cauliflower crust out there. I could see that. But zucchini as a topping, no.
I love zucchini. It's a very underrated vegetable.
It is.
You got to cook it the right way, and I don't think pizza would make it work.
Number 5, figs.
That just sounds like something I wouldn't like, and so I'll just completely be judgmental and sell.
It's sweet. I don't know how, and it's like a fig. I guess you could use it as a replacement for sauce.
It's the problem is
If you like
figs have been ruined for me, unless they're within a fig Newton. Figs have been ruined for me ever since I first saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, and everybody just dropped dead from eating those figs. They've just been ruined for me,
including
ever
the
since.
monkey. So,
Including the monkey did.
yeah.
Yes, it shocked
Yeah.
the monkey. Yes.
Number 4, potato.
No.
No. I mean, no. No, because I think it would overwhelm that level of starch. I think would overwhelm the pizza
Yeah.
itself. Yeah.
Number 3, avocado.
I mean, I could see this if you wanted to be trendy, healthy. This one I could see. Yeah.
On top of like a spicy pizza as a cooling,
Yeah.
I think that could be good.
Okay, I like that too. I could see it. Yeah.
Number 2, shrimp.
Yeah,
said
this one I
my
could see.
family loves
I
it.
mean, I love shrimp, especially because you can fry it. So never mind. But yeah, I love it. Yeah.
And number 1, pulled pork. I'm a hard buy on that.
I could buy that for sure.
That would work.
Yeah, I could buy it. Yeah.
All right, next up, Tyler Morgan says gas stations by the end of the year will start to Y2K prep their gas price signs to read in the double digits.
Oh wow.
This has happened already. I read somewhere that they realized that they had to deal with it.
I'm gonna say sell because I think when we get into the later in the year, the weather will stop. That'll be what stops us from getting to $10 a gallon of gasoline. But I think that's the only thing that will do it. And I don't know how confident I am in that answer, but I'll sell. Maybe out of hope more than anything else.
I'll buy.
Next, John Berner says Stalinism and Nazism happen when authoritarian men are in charge. Progressivism happens when authoritarian women are.
Interesting. Even though progressivism empowers that matriarchy, I mean, if we're going to call a spade here, pretty much with the exception of Margaret Sanger, pretty much all of the leading godfathers or spirit animals of Western progressivism are men. Okay. But the end result might be what you're describing. And so I'll give it a buy for a good try.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am. It's a little too simplistic, but the latter half of it about, there's you cannot wrestle with the not slouch but sprint towards Gomorrah that we have gone through this century and not talk about like the prevalence of women, workplace decision making, all that. And It just objectively speaking, you have to deal with it.
Up next, we have Brett Beavers, who says if Ron DeSantis doesn't run for president in 2024, he'll miss his window when his star was brightest and never become president.
I will buy slightly because history shows that is the most likely scenario. And I'll give you some examples. Mike Huckabee not running in 2012 because frankly he was making way too much money selling books and being on Fox News, and he was making money for the first time really in his life. Not to mention challenging a sitting president is not easy. Historically, until this past election, sitting presidents have won about 70% of the time in American history. So, but he missed his window, tried to run again in 2016, and the magic was gone. The polling for Ted Cruz is very poor, and you can't blame lack of name ID in his case. He won the highest turnout Iowa caucus ever. He's a fixture on Fox News. He's probably on there more than any politician other than Lindsey Graham. And so I just think history shows skipping the cycle and then trying to come back. Here's the one hesitation I have with him is he would still have an entire second term as governor. Okay. Meaning that he would still have an entire 4 years, and everybody knows if Trump is the nominee and wins, he can't run for another term. So this is a unique circumstance where Ron would still have a full 4-year term to be on the wall, to be on the front lines of the agenda.
Yeah.
And everybody knows Trump's a lame duck 5 minutes after he takes the oath of office, right? And so that's my hesitation. I mean, I would buy like 51-49 just because of recent history, but I'm not as confident in that as I would be barring these two, unique circumstances.
I'll sell because of the Florida aspect. I mean, what if he continues to be that man in that state for that long? How is he done? I don't know how.
But Ted remained in the Senate, and it hasn't helped him. Now the difference is, here's the difference. Think of, other than immigration, think of all the most pressing things right now. January 6th, the shots, COVID, corporate wokeism, okay? Whose name comes to mind first as being your guy in the battlefield on those issues? Ron DeSantis or Ted Cruz?
DeSantis.
It's DeSantis.
Yeah. I was thinking this was a trick question or something.
I told this to Ted's face last summer. I don't think our people care that you're going to be in Washington, D.C. Fighting the Biden agenda, because they want you instead to be fighting for their agenda. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Not just giving your spin, even though they would agree with it, but your spin on what the regime's narrative is. They want you advancing their narrative. And DeSantis will still have ample time to do that as the governor of Florida. And so that does make it a unique circumstance. Yep. Let me mention before we continue on with part 2 of Buy, Sell, or Hold, to make sure to check out Eden Pure is one of our new sponsors here on the show. We've been trying this in our home. It is one of the best-selling purifiers out there, uses proven Oxy technology, quickly destroys everything from viruses to odors to mold and so much more. Man, I've got a teenage boy that is doing football preseason workouts every morning at 7 a.m. So trust me when I tell you, we have put the Eden Pure to the test, brother, if you know what I'm saying, okay? And it has absolutely come through. So odors from teenage boys, litter boxes, trash cans, cigarette smoke, dirty diapers, your pets, and more are no match for the powerful thunderstorm that is sent out from the Eden Pure air purifier. If you want to try it all, try it. First of all, no filters are needed. You don't have to buy filters over and over again, so that saves you money. Is right there off the top. You can get 3 units for under $200 to get you started right now. Put one in the basement, the teenager's bedroom, or the family room, or wherever you would like right now. Use the discount code STEVE3, STEVE3, when you go to EdenPureDeals.com. Eden, E-D-E-N, EdenPureDeals.com. Use the code STEVE3, and you'll get shipping is free and a discount as well. Again, that's STEVE3 the discount code at EdenPureDeals.com.
James Swick is up next, and he says the real reason the state is pursuing the J6ers with so much vigor is to send the message the next time they steal an election, don't push back.
Or anything else for that matter. Yes, I'll buy. You bet. Yep.
All right, pardon me one moment.
And can I add to that?
Yeah, please
And
do.
it's to also show you no one is coming for you. This is what every terrorist says. This is what every hostage taker says. No one is coming for you. No one can hear you. No one is coming to save you. And so therefore the implication is there is no reason to rise up. All right? You're going to be Lafayette's not bringing the French Armada. Sorry, I saw Hamilton last weekend. So there's no use looking out over the banks there at Yorktown awaiting deliverance. It's never coming. Instead, you're now bucked up against the sea while the redcoats will just eradicate you. No one's coming to save you. That's the other message they want to demonstrate, is that you're voting and crawling over broken glass to vote for people who are not coming to save you. They won't help you. So just accept it. Comply. There is no point to pushing back.
Well said. Up next, Brad West for something completely different. Mount Rushmore of 1980s sports
Oh, here we
jokes.
go. Okay.
Isaiah Thomas inbound pass stolen by Larry Bird.
I hate you. Stolen by DJ. Stolen by Bird.
So,
Gives it to DJ, lays it in. I'll never forget that moment.
I'm selling. That wasn't a choke. That was brilliance.
No, that was a choke.
That's not a joke.
I was there. I watched it live, and it was a choke.
No, it was
Complete
genius.
choke. Just inbound the ball, man.
Genius by Larry Bird.
Just complete inbound the ball. Just a total choke. Bye.
It's obviously not that simple.
I'd have the mental scarring to prove that it was a choke. Bye.
Ernest Biner fumble.
Which one? Did it 2 years in a row. Cost him the
Asked
AFC
and
Championship 2 years in a row. Okay, poor guy. People forget how great he was for a period of time because of this. But bye. Yeah.
Yep.
Bill Buckner, error at first base.
I mean, that's number one, guys. That's number one. That's one of the greatest sports chokes in all of American history. Absolutely. You bet. Yeah.
Yep.
Gets by Buckner. Yeah, absolutely.
Fred Brown pass to James Worthy.
So that's the 82 NCAA championship game where Jordan hit the shot, right? And that actually has a happy ending. Fred Brown was on the 84 Georgetown team that 2 years later won the national championship. Got a huge hug from John Thompson. But that was a choke. Yeah, it shouldn't be ranked higher than Buckner by any stretch. But yeah.
I think, and here's what, it's just kick Steve Deace in the Jimmy, but Chris Webber's timeout is...
That was in the 90s, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
But thank you for that.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Well, yeah, it seemed like it was your day.
Yeah, thank you.
Next, Electric Raptor says Deshaun Watson will not play a single down for the Browns in the 22-23 season.
I will buy. In fact, I think if you had given me the proposition he will never play for the Cleveland Browns, I might buy that. This is getting preposterously worse. We're now up to 66 women, I think is the number. His attorney has now altered his story from these are not true allegations to it's not a crime to proposition a woman. Okay?
And that's why I will sell, because like look at we're in drag queen with kids territory these days. How is he wrong based on the standards of the day?
That I think plays into this, as a matter of fact. Okay,
we got a new drag queen cheerleader.
Exactly. It's Me Too while we can't define what a woman is.
Yeah.
That, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so this is how we will compensate for that. I don't think he'll play this year. I will buy.
All right, we're going to finish this segment out. We've got some bonus buy, sell, or hold in the overtime. We're going to finish this segment out with a list, courtesy of our following at TikTok. This is a Mount Rushmore of covers for Tyga coolers.
All right, we're going to do this rapid fire.
That should be made next.
Okay.
Number 1, Mount Rushmore with Steve Todd and Aaron's faces.
Oh, buy.
Sure.
I don't know who would want it, but yeah.
2, Ode to Steve and Built Bars.
Of course.
Yes, buy. Yes.
Number 3, Todd drinking vinegar out of a Bonner wine glass.
That's great. Buy. Yeah.
Number 4, warning biohazard symbol of viral samples, property of Moderna.
Nice.
Yeah.
Buy.
That's very good. Number 5, let's go, Brandon.
That's standard. Yes. Yep.
Number 6, United States of Pfizer.
Preach.
Yep,
I'll buy that one. Yeah.
Number 7, it's just Demonic
sure.
Bro.
There you go, Aaron.
Yeah.
Aaron's razor. Yes.
Number 8, Dude Code
Yes.
on stone
I
tablets.
love that.
Nothing says a
Yeah, this is
dude
a great
code
list.
like a cooler.
Yeah.
Number 9, Flat Earth Voodoo Junk Science with a picture of Fauci.
Very nice.
Sure.
Bye. Yes.
And number 10, Get Off My Lawn. Todd.
Just with Todd's face.
Just for me.
You know how many? I've had this idea before.
That was a great list there that you guys put together. Thank you to my daughter Anna for giving that to us.
We need to put together literal stone or wooden tablets that we could like sell as kind of like a something for the man cave or something you can hang on your wall with like the essential 10 commandments of the Dude Code. That would be a best-selling trinket.
Would it be sacrilegious? Should we pick something other than stone tablets maybe?
Wooden tablets.
Wooden ones?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I like it though. I like the fact that there should be a quantified dude code of absolutes. That's very dude. Having absolutes. Peter Navarro is going to join us. We'll find out if he's in prison yet. Stay tuned. Well, he was one of President Trump's longest-serving, most loyal advisors, particularly on issues of trade and China. He's got a forthcoming book that you can pre-order right now on Amazon.com, coming out later this fall, Taking Back Trump's America, Why We Lost the White House and How We'll Win It Back. The name, of course, is Peter Navarro. He's been a guest on our show before, and he's been in the news recently because, of course, he is now in the crosshairs of the January 6th committee and the regime, and he joins us here on Blaze TV. Good to have you back on the show, Peter. How are you?
I'm great to see you, Steve. I appreciate you being on here. I got the Department of Justice here loosely termed behind me. In one of these cubicles, these people are plotting to put me in prison with a charge, Steve, that's unprecedented in our nation's history. This has never happened. I mean, taking a senior White House advisor away in leg irons after an assault at the airport with 5 agents. And I appreciate you putting that Taking Trump America Back book, Taking Back Trump's America Back book. That's my legal defense fund. This is good. I've been doing this case pro se, meaning representing myself. I filed a civil suit on Tuesday of last week. I guess they didn't like me standing up for the Constitution because by Friday, they put me in leg irons. And I'm talking to lawyers now trying to figure out how to get a defense. And we're talking like up to $500,000
Wow.
for this. So if people out there in Daysland can help me, Taking Back Trump's America on Amazon, if I could sell 100,000 of those books, which is about a tenth of what Mark Levin sells in his great book, I'll be able to pay for this. But this is what they do, Steve. It's called lawfare. What they try to do with the Trump people in this 2-tiered system of justice is to bind us down, take our time, take our money, and in my case, actually try to put me in prison. And I mean, you've got a discredited Russia hoax back in 2016 implicating people in the FBI and the Justice Department, the Brennan and Clapper and the Obama administration. These people are walking free as the birds. They're letting people out all over this country with these George Soros prosecutors who have done like violent assault. And me, all 145 pounds of me, they feel like they got to like take me down in an airport and put me in leg irons. I mean, people, you need to be as outraged about this as I am, because if they come for me, they're coming for Trump. And if they can come for me and Trump, they're coming for you.
What would they say, Peter, is deserving of such harsh treatment? What have you done other than being Trump adjacent? All right. What else have you done would they claim is makes you such a danger here?
Well, I think I filed a civil suit which argues 4 points of the law and key constitutional issues that they simply don't want to accept. The backstory for this, Steve, is you've got this kangaroo committee on Congress that putatively is supposed to be looking at the violence on January 6th. But if you look very carefully at the committee, by the way, my lawsuit's at peternavarro.com, First of all, Pelosi did not follow the own rules of the committee, so it's not duly authorized or properly constituted. It's like 9 never-Trumpers with an axe to grind. And right there, you don't have legally enforceable subpoenas. So right there, I'm a free man. In addition, you've got separation of powers, meaning that, yeah, most of your viewers think that Congress has the right to investigate. That's true, but not for punitive purposes, only for legislative purposes. This committee, behind the facade of a legislative function, is acting as judge, jury, and executioner with the sole goal, you'll see this in prime time on Thursday night, to build a criminal case against Donald Trump to prevent him from being president in 2025. So there's that. Now, here's the biggest thing legally. This is an issue that the Supreme Court has to deal with now, because I told the committee and later the Department of Justice and the FBI that executive privilege of Donald Trump is not mine to waive. So when they command me to appear and executive privilege applies, I must do my duty, right? It's not mine to waive. What they should have done was go and negotiate the privilege directly with Trump and his attorneys. To my knowledge, they did not even try to do that. Instead, what they did, this is so disingenuous. They had Joe Biden as a sitting president write me a letter and say, you don't have executive privilege, you don't have testimony immunity, effectively the incumbent stripping Trump of executive privilege. Now, executive privilege goes back to George Washington. And the whole point of executive privilege and testimonial immunity for people like me in the White House is to allow us to have candid conversations so good presidential decisions get made. And the law is strongly supportive of that. And here they're trying to blow that up with this fanciful and absurd notion, no case law on this, that says Biden can strip Trump of the privilege. It's just wrong. So they want to put me in prison. That's the bottom line. They put me in leg irons. Here's the funny thing, Steve, and it was almost absurdly funny at the time. They take me down at the airport when their office is literally right across the street, and they could have kind of just peacefully taken me in the morning at my house. And when they take me down with 5 agents, all 145 pounds of me, I asked the agent, this guy, Walter Giordano. These people have names. Walter Giordano, FBI agent. Hey, Walter, it's like, I need to call for legal advice. And he wouldn't let me. I repeated it. I repeatedly asked him to do that. He confiscates my phone, seals it up in an evidence bag, and I don't get to talk to an attorney. I mean, these are the kinds of strong arm tactics this Biden regime is doing to shut people up who want to protect the Constitution and the rights of the American people. And I got this 2-tiered system of justice. It's like these Russia hoax people walk free as a bird, and a guy like me who's doing nothing but trying to defend the Constitution winds up in leg irons. So by taking back Trump's America on Amazon, that's my legal defense fund, and please help me out here.
Peter, have you considered a career change? Have you considered maybe becoming a drug mule or a human trafficker at the border? Have you considered perhaps burning an American city to the ground, or taking 9 square blocks of Seattle and calling it an occupied territory? I mean, drag queen. Maybe parading yourself as a drag queen in front of little kids at a Texas bar, because there's apparently all kinds of things you can do to break the law that we don't punish people for. So have you considered maybe advancing into those criminal endeavors?
Yeah, I'm going to write my new book after this was how to not wind up in leg irons in the American Justice Department. Oh, do like assault and run drugs instead of standing up for the Constitution. I take your point, Steve. It is a good one. But the really serious issue here that I raise in my lawsuit is the weaponization of Congress's investigatory powers for partisan purposes. And one of the things I do in the lawsuit is go over the 5-year history of the 7 Democrats on that kangaroo committee, and illustrate vividly how, dating back to the Russia hoax through 2 impeachment trials and 3 House resolutions, all 7 of those are implicated in efforts basically to topple the government, to take Donald Trump out of office using this lawfare and weaponizing the investigatory powers of Congress. They don't like it when I call them on that, but that's what they're doing, Steve. And this republic, I mean, look, the backstory for all of this is mothers can't get baby formula. Gas is through the roof. I'm an economist by training. I've never seen the macroeconomy in worse shape. We got an invasion on the southern border, chaos in the Ukraine. We're guarding Ukraine's border better than our own. And this is what the Department of Justice is focusing on. Never I want to emphasize this, Steve, nobody has ever been treated by the Department of Justice like I am being treated now. And it's only because of my association with Donald Trump and my defense of the Constitution. This people across the political aisle should be outraged at this.
If you are outraged at this and you want to support Peter's legal defense, again, the name of the book, Taking Back Trump's America, Why We Lost the White House and How We'll Win It Back. It is due out later this fall, but pre-sales are going on right now. And Peter, always appreciate your candidness. Thanks for joining us again. And please keep us up to date if there's any more we can do to help support your cause, all right?
Yes, sir. And thanks for the time. We need to stand together. If they can come for me, they can come for all of us.
Thank you, brother. Take care.
Take care, man.
All right, that's Peter Navarro. Let me tell you, maybe it's kind of an awkward time to talk about a product line called Viciously Loyal after that interview, but there was a time that we were viciously loyal as a people about our beliefs, our families, our community, our country. And the long line of servicemen and women who have established the company Viciously Loyal, they want to bring that back. All right, they're trying to return us back to some of that old magic because these are people that have chosen to be servants. They have done that in their community, in the armed forces, all kinds of arenas, living their lives with purpose in everything they do. And that's one of the reasons why all Viciously Loyal gear is sold, designed, and printed right here in the US of A. If you want to give them a shot, an outstanding premium line of shirts, t-shirts, tanks, hats, and more designed to fit your individual style, no matter what it is, go to viciouslyloyal.com, viciouslyloyal.com, and use my name, Steve, at the discount for the discount code at the checkout to get 20% off your Viciously Loyal gear. When you go to viciouslyloyal.com, again, that's viciouslyloyal.com, use the discount code Steve and get a whopping 20% off discount. Discount code Steve at viciouslyloyal.com. What do you guys think of the conversation we just had with Peter Navarro?
Having been railroaded by the government myself in my past, which we've talked about before, I know how that can feel. But what strikes me about Peter is that last time we had him on the show, however long that was ago, this guy, in terms of tone, temperament, purpose, communication style, I don't remember it being any different at all, or from him when he was in the White House. I like that because I can trust that, because this is, they're trying to destroy him. And he's right about the fact that they did it at the airport on purpose. They're just trying to humiliate people. Mm-hmm. It's ghastly. People should go to jail. It's the people who are doing this to him. And I'm just glad a guy who clearly has 0 F's to give is the guy that may be the tip of the spear on this thing, because that's exactly the kind of ball game we need to play. It's all in.
Just to reiterate kind of what he said at the beginning, naming the name of the FBI agent who strong-armed him and took away his phone. Tony, was it Tony Giordano, something like that?
I think it was Giordano or something like that, yeah.
That's another reminder. There are ample numbers of people out there who are more than willing to do this to other people. A lot of brown shirts out there. whether it's Peter Navarro being taken down by the FBI at the airport, or some cop in small-town Idaho arresting a mom at the playground. One, if you're not a threat to the system, what the hell are you doing here? What are you doing? Two, if you are a threat to the system, they're more than willing to come after you, and there are more than enough brown shirts to carry out those jackbooted orders. So yet again, this is a theme this week that I can see already. The spirit of the age, if you are any threat to it at any level, will come for you eventually. And if you're not a threat, what are you doing? What are you doing here?
Yeah. By the way,
what are you doing?
Yeah. I was just telling Steve, Carlisle, my school district, last night, the athletic director, who I've caught breaking policy multiple times at a borderline illegal level, at my daughter's soccer banquet, had police there just to follow me around, just so he wouldn't have to talk with me. I talked to him anyways, but he had them. It was clear. It was just me. I'm one guy. So this is absolutely right. In every form, if you do not drink the Kool-Aid, you have a target on your back. And you have a target on your back anyway if you don't do anything. That's the point. That's what Aaron's saying. They're coming for all of us.
I mean, these are Cold War kind of tactics.
Yeah.
And just applied civilly because we're in the midst of a cold civil war.
Yeah. Fun.
I know you mean that in the opposite way. It's not fun, but you're right.
It isn't, but like that's what I'm talking about. Peter's just like undaunted. I do love that. And last night I was like, I'm not tiptoeing around anybody. I'm having the conversations I came here to have. You're the bad guys. You're not going to make me kneel. You're not going to make me.
And I think something to understand is they know all of the legal precedents that he just cited for you when we were talking.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been a routine game plan we have seen with these folks since Biden took over, and we saw it some in the Obama era as well. I think Obama actually was subjected to more 9-0 or unanimous rebukes by the U.S. Supreme Court more than any sitting president in American history. And it's this idea of, well, we'll just do what we want to do, and then we'll put the onus. We won't self-restrain. The oath of office means nothing to us. We won't self-restrain because of what the Constitution says. We will just do what we want to do, and then we'll just find out, we'll just essentially, from a constitutional perspective, kill them all and let the courts sort it out. And, if the courts go against us, great. If they don't, cool, we win. I mean, how do you share a country? That's a total violation of the social compact. That's the Constitution as a dead letter. One side just openly says we will just violate it with impunity, and then we'll see if anybody stops us. And if they don't, then hey, that's the new precedent. That's the new law. That's banana republic stuff, folks. That's what it is. And that's what we are. We're a first world banana republic. That's what we are. We'll stick around and do some bonus buy, sell, or hold in the overtime for Blaze TV subscribers. For the rest of you, we will see you tomorrow, right after Glenn Beck here on Blaze TV. Until then, John 3:17.